It's on. Oh, hello. Sorry for that. We had a little slippery fingers. Couldn't get the thing to stay up by itself. This is Athena Jezik. Decided to start with a little bit of bowl tones and fork tones so that while people are joining, they can hear some nice things, nice tones, nice sounds, hopefully to put you in kind of a energy state of relaxation and just thinking if you have any questions, I, I'm here to answer as well as I can for any of the work that I do. So we can continue. So if anybody has any questions, just let me know, and Corrina will read them to me.
So we have Sarah, soft spoken, saying
Hi,
hello.
Sarah. Hello.
Catherine says it's been a while and I pray that everything is going well and that your health is doing better. Hello to Adora. Thank you so much. Lauren, Mel, so good to see all of y'all. Do you want to give a little update on how your health has been doing lately?
Well, it's a slow process. That's all I can say. It's very frustrating at times, but I'm doing different things. Like I was actually able to sit cross-legged, with sitting on and then crossing my legs. That's the first time I've been able to get things bent enough to be able to do that. But every time I do something new, then there's a new set of muscles that are going, "What did you do to me?" So that's a challenge because I'm always then a little bit stiff, and it's amazing how much it takes. It really tires me out, just those new little movements. But I'm getting through it. I'm getting better. I'm getting closer to being able to step on just one leg with full weight, which is good. But I am still having to depend on the walker, and but I do feel like I'm walking better. So I'm just looking forward to being at the end of this particular journey because I know I'm in a journey and I know there's things that are coming to me in growing me up a little bit more at a more inner level and able to tolerate whatever is happening. So, and this is fun. I think this is a good idea to have a little bit of a question and answer for all of you. We have more material coming out about the cranial sacral work. In fact, I think Corrina just posted this today, a new video on the
Yes.
channel. Yeah, it's up and it's more of a teaching video, but it's gives you information if you're curious about how cranial sacral works and a little deeper understanding of it and why you'll get it. You'll probably see why it's so important and why I harp so much on it. So that's a good thing. We'll be getting more massage videos up as well. So we're just going to keep working at this and trying to bring things to the people who appreciate this kind of stuff, and that's going to make me much happier in the long run, and feeling more productive than being cooped up in my little upstairs. It's a nice upstairs, at least.
It's
So,
very nice, but to be kind of stuck up here though is
yeah.
it's been a little rough.
Yeah, it really has been. Because I can't get outside, except for if somebody comes over and helps me down the stairs and then takes me somewhere. So, but that doesn't happen very often. But I'm okay with it all. And thank you for asking. I'm moving along, and I hope I'm an encouragement for anybody else who's going through some issues. So, that just will give me a little bit more experience of understanding what it's like to go through a long healing process. So, anything else?
So yeah, so Julie just said, "Hello, my nose won't stop running, but I want to sleep. Do you guys have any quick tips?"
Wow.
And if you, so whatever tip you want to share, but then I also thought this might be a cool time for you to show some of the like self lymphatic
Well, that
drainage
may
for the
make her drain.
face.
That may make you drain a little bit more, but it'll move things around and maybe out of there easier. Sure, we could do that. Do you want to do it along with me?
I'll try. I kind of remember some of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you
Well,
just kind of
okay.
show them and then I'll watch you on the screen and try
Okay.
to.
Well, you start underneath the clavicles, these two bones that are right here. So you're going to take your fingers and kind of very lightly, this is very light work, you'll put it right at the top, the anterior part, which is the upper side of the clavicle, and both clavicles. And then what you'll do is you'll like very lightly stretch the skin in towards the center, and then lift your fingers up and let it ride back on the skin, because the skin will go back to where it wants to go. It won't want to stay out there stretched. So then you just do a little pulling inward and then riding it out backward, and pulling inward and riding it backward. And you can do 3 to 5 of these. And so, Julie, let us know if you're feeling differences as we continue. And the next thing to do, that's probably the easiest way to do it, is to take the hand on each side of your neck. And you're going to want to ride up right here on the neck on both sides, but you start down at the bottom because you just opened up nodes here. So you'll start down low, and again, the same thing, you kind of stretch it down and then ride it up. But don't use very much pressure. Maybe about the pressure of a nickel, which is about 5 grams, especially on this part because everything's close to the surface. And then after you do that 3 or 5 times, then you can move up a little higher and stretch down and stretch down and up and stretch down and let it ride back. It'll ride back up because you're stretching down. You want to get it out of the body. So if you push it up, then you're just going to push it into the areas that you want to open up. Okay, then you can take your this is a tricky one, but you can kind of push at the jawline back and ride it back up. And you go back about to the ears and push it down and downward. So it's a little bit pushing it more anterior, but for sake of feeling the direction, it's like that way. And then pulling it down, and then cross your hands back and rinse it through the neck. Okay. And then you can start here at so you went along the jawline. So now you're going to start here at the chin. There's a little triangular piece here. So we're going to work inside that triangle and pull it down. Stretch the skin down and ride it back up. Stretch the skin down. And then you can go to the sides of the mouth and with 2 fingers, just give a little bit of a stretch and ride it back up and stretch. I'm just going to do it 3 times, but if you are pretty clogged, you can do it more. And then go right next to the nose. And the same thing where you're stretching down and then riding it back up right along the nose and kind of the little area, and then up so that you're up at the nasal bones, up between the eyes, and then you're going to pull it down and stretch up. And then you're going to rinse it back, where you're going to just take it, about 3 to 5 times again, down the long side of the nose and here. And then you can go under the nose and kind of pull that a little bit out. There's a little circular thing that you do, but don't worry about that. Just kind of pull it outward to the sides of that triangle, and then bring it back down, and then kind of get back under there and rinse that down. Rinse the neck down to the clavicles and give it a little stretch through the points that we started with. And then you can ride it up and ride it up. And then you can go here to the outside of the triangle, and you can begin to stretch things. Well, start from the ears, and then pull back here toward the ears, and kind of there's a lot of lymph nodes right around here, so you kind of want to move it in that direction, and then closer in, like 3 to 5 times. I'm going to speed it up a little bit, but 3 to 5 times, then right next to the triangle again, and then you're getting into the cheek area. There's a lot of sinuses in our head, so this helps to affect that, because that's why Julie is running so much, because their sinuses are probably full, and they want to empty out. At least they're running. It's better than having the pressure, because that's kind of not so good a pressure. Then you can go around the eyes, and just, it's the same thing, kind of a stretch around the eyes. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to you. And then we'll just take this part and across the temples, and then down into that ear area, and just drain it into the right under the ear. And then you can take the eyes and just kind of very gently pull from the eyebrow down and over the eye very gently, and do that. And then you can go to the top of the eyes, and you're going to do the skin stretching and the riding back across right under the eyebrows. And then you're going to take that back again to the ears and down the neck, and then drain there. And then you can also just start at the forehead, and you got it, on the outside of the forehead, and pull it this way and that way and that way, and then go back the same thing and back down. You can pull the cheeks in that way, just kind of always doing that skin stretching and riding, and then back down, and be sure to drain it. Just rinse it all back into these nodes that we started with, and you can just drain it there, and hopefully you are feeling a little bit difference in the work that you do. If you don't get it the first time, then just keep trying, because oftentimes it's pretty instant that you feel different. Now, how the nose is clogging up may have other factors involved. Might be something that you're eating that that is making that be so runny. It's hard to say, but that's the way you drain your face when you have congestion in your in the sinuses or around the neck or places like that. So I don't know if that helped very much, but
Yes, she says, thank you so much. It just runs and runs, maybe even more.
Yeah, it should run more.
So it probably will run more, but then
Yeah.
you should have some relief after your body can actually expel all of that it's trying to expel.
Yeah, the body wants to get rid of that, so this is helping it get rid of it. And be sure to blow your nose. You probably are, but help it out too if you can. And then pretty soon it should change. That's some kind of lymphatic work that a lot of people that do face massages and that will add to it, because it really does help kind of open up that area. So hopefully that'll help, Julie.
Yeah.
I hope that helps you, Julie. But if you're feeling like you're more runny, it's working. I just don't know how long it's going to take. But sometimes I had a client one time who I did that too because she was really congested, but it was more congestion. It wasn't running very well. It would, but it wasn't probably like you're running. And after she got home, she had a friend over, and the friend she was blowing and blowing and blowing her nose. And her friend thought that, that what I did to her was bad. And she said, "Oh, no, this is good. This is exactly what I want." And then just a little while later, then it all slowed down and all of that. So running is good. It's the body wants to expel a lot of stuff out, and that's always a good thing. It's just that it's not always very pleasant to do that, and that's the hard part is getting it to be pleasant.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
So, Chili She, and forgive me if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly, but she says, my neck hurts just on the 5th vertebrae, but it's been about 4 years now. I have sought medical attention, but no change.
Okay.
So, should I grab the little
The fifth.
the little skeleton guy?
No.
I feel like he's a helpful tool.
Well, probably the skeleton, but the little guy's so little. Now, is that, you say the 5th vertebrae? Is it above that kind of that bump where that's the 7th vertebrae? Is it in the neck? It would. Well, you said it was. Yeah. So is it like 2 vertebrae up from there, from that bump part, or is sometimes people count the vertebrae differently? There's kind of 2 that stick out a little bit more, but if it's at the 5th vertebrae, do you have any problems with range of motion? That would be the other thing.
These vertebrae are all kind of messed up.
I know.
But we can at least get a visual for where in the neck that she's experiencing the pain.
So this is a 7th vertebrae, this bump right here. It's more aligned with the shoulders, but so the 5th, can't see if there's 7, 6. So the 5th would be right here, if you can see that. And then it goes up to the axis and atlas. So the only thing I can say is it might be a disc or something like that, but you have gone into medical things, and they haven't really, I don't know what they've done. If they've done cortisone or something like that, that's very temporary, so that won't solve the problem, but it'll give you relief. You can go in there with your own fingers and just kind of move the tissue around, just like, just kind of move it around in little circles and stretch it out a little bit, or rub it up and down on either side of the vertebrae, and you can see if that helps. I'm getting a feeling that you're probably pretty tight also. Oftentimes that relates to tightness in the jaw, and there might be a position, like if you're working a computer or you're looking down a lot, it might be something positionally where you're going to have to learn how to kind of move that back into a different alignment. I don't know. Chiropractors could probably do something to that, but then sometimes they're a little rough, and not all the time does it really help to be rough on something. Sometimes it's better to be a little bit more gentle. But you could try it if you feel like you're led there. I always want people to not really take what I say and do something unless they're feeling that they're called in that direction. Massage therapist may be able to help a little if it's a lot of muscle strain, but if it's actually dealing with the disc or the vertebrae, you want to be sure that you don't have a disc that's out of place. That can be, you can do neck exercises that might help. Stretching of the neck. Be sure that your posture of your neck, like you're not leaning like forward, but that you're actually lifting, like you have a string right coming out of the back of the head or the top of the head, and like it's pulling you up, and then you want to feel that your jaw and stuff, is going. That's right, that your jaw and everything is pulling backward while your head is lifting. That's a really hard. I'll see if I can do something on. So she wants to like lift the head here from here.
So they're not going to be able to hear you if you're
Oh, so I'm lifting her head. I'll just do it with one. I've got my hand, each hand on the vertebrae, I mean on the skull. So she wants to lift her head, so it, not so the chin comes up. I keep getting tangled in that wire down there. So it would be lifting the head, not that way, up in the back, like lifting up, and then pull the chin back. So I'm lifting up with the chin coming back, so the chin is parallel to the floor, and then you feel a stretch. Then you'll feel a stretch coming up the back. It's kind of an awkward feeling at first, but you'll also feel your shoulders coming into a better position. So it could be also being hurting because your shoulders may also be carrying a little bit more tension than they need to.
But basically, this posture that so many of us are in all the time, doing this,
Get closer to the
doing
mic.
this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so focusing on
Yeah.
your posture,
This is Mike. We got to be sure we're talking to you and not ourselves.
noticing your posture, noticing how you're sitting, noticing those things that you do all the time.
Mm-hmm.
How you sit at the computer, how you hold your phone, even driving. Little things that you start to notice that you can bring your attention to, and then start just bringing a little mindfulness and say, oh, you know what, I'm going to try to straighten my neck. I'm going to try to bring the chin back a little bit, because most of us are doing this. Most of us are doing the forward head posture.
Mm-hmm.
But that is
Yeah.
creating...
Yeah, so you want to pull it up and back. No, not the chin. The chin wants to be, you want the chin to be parallel to the floor, but you want to keep pulling up from here. So these muscles in the back are strengthening to be able to hold that head instead of dropping down. And then when you can get into this position, you'll feel a difference through your shoulders, and you'll also begin to work with a better posture, because it all kind of starts up there at the top. It starts with the sphenobaser junction, but those are just little tips that I can tell you. It's hard for me to know without being able to get my hands on you and actually feel it myself, and then I would be able to better assess it. But that would be something you could try and see if that works for you.
So yeah, people are saying that's very helpful, very interesting.
Thank you.
Okay, and then Adora is asking any advice for migraines. I've had them sporadically since I was a little girl.
Yeah, migraines are tough, and the only thing I've really seen that helps migraines is cranial sacral therapy. Unless they're triggered by hormones, if they come, at a specific time of the month and they're triggered with hormone imbalance, sometimes when the liver gets a little bit congested, it'll be a migraine, because in Chinese medicine, from what I understand, the liver gets angry and it sends the energy up to the head, and particularly in migraines, because they come all the time, or I know mine used to come once a week. They'd last 3 hours or 3 vomits, and then they were over, and then I was fine. It was just like that, but it was horrible through it. And while I woke up in the morning, it was always really bad, and it was always in the morning. So we did find out that there was a liver disorder happening. There was a problem with my liver. So that might be something else. You can just maybe just get something like dandelion, something easy that's that you find for like an herbal help for the liver, and that may just help the liver enough to take them away, because migraines are really hard to live with, and I do treat several people with migraines, and the only ones that really weren't very successful was the one that was triggered by the hormones. But other like light or other stuff like that, that'll tend to be corrected. It did take a few weeks to do it, but it went relatively fast. So you can give that a try. But I'd say also take a look at your liver. Maybe if you're eating food that kind of doesn't make you feel real good, just pay attention to that, so that maybe you can not eat that and see if it changes anything, and give yourself a little liver help in however way you feel. I personally like tinctures better. And I do want to kind of say that the herb farm, HERB hyphen PHARM.com, has the cleanest and the best medicinal herbs that I've run across. I've been with them since the 1990s. So if you're going to get it, you be sure you get a good quality of it, because there's a lot of, it's just like buying food. You don't know really what you're getting. And see if that helps. That might help too. And then, of course, our inner selves also, when you get a migraine, you can maybe just ask yourself, or ask you, however you see somebody that's helping you in an invisible way. You can possibly just say, what is the lesson I'm supposed to learn here? What am I not getting? Because sometimes those kind of things, they carry a lesson behind them, or they're trying to get you to, the body's trying to get you to see something. So there's different things you can do. And always, if you do have the migraine, don't talk bad to your body. Just tell the migraine it's really not welcome. It sounds crazy, but the way that we think, and the staying in a positive thought pattern, even when we're hurting, which is hard to do because I've been having to do it for a long time, but that does help the body to heal. So give those a try and see what comes out of it. If you can find a cranial sacral person, that might be a help. And just be sure you get one that has had some experience with migraine headaches. So I hope that helps a little bit.
Yes. Okay, and then Sarah Soft Spoken asked, do you have any tips for chronic stress? I feel like my whole body is exhausted.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, this day and age, yeah, it is. Well, stress is something that you do have to get to the point with the body where you just say, I'm not going to deal with anything out there. Like today, if you can have a day off and you can arrange to just be more by yourself and just take a nice, good, long nap, a deep sleep, something like that. That's why I like cranial work so much, because it does put people into a very deep state, and the body's able to then just connect to the mind, and the body will begin to do its work healing. It does have to rest. The body really does have to rest. And you can think of other things, like whatever the stress is that you're encountering, if it's at work or with the kids or with whatever it is, to kind of change the mindset of what's happening. And it's hard to do, but you want to, like, if it's, let's just say you're having a hard day at work and people are bothering you all the time and, demanding this and demanding that, to try to remember that that's the outside stuff. And it's going to be there tomorrow. So if it's something too much, then begin to speak out and just, I'll get it done. I'll get it done, but not take it as something that is, you're doing anything bad or wrong. Because the most important thing is for you to get yourself in a place where you're in control of your body. And that happens when the mind can get quieter. And then all of this distraction and all of this noise that's out there, when we can let go of that and just realize that, that's kind of like a construct out there, but the real living person that's inside of us, that's the one that we want to listen to and take care of. Because if the body says rest, just rest. And, if you're not done with doing the work at your job, just say, I just have to do this or I'll get sick. And, that's the next thing. After people get so stressed out, they do weaken their health. So it's an important thing. Just try to change the way you're looking at things. Try to change kind of that inner feeling. Try to just ask however you see that, ask yourself, I just want some joy right now. I just want happiness. Maybe look at a flower and be joyful of a flower. Begin to start looking at the things that matter, because all the other stuff is really noise. I mean, we're living in this construct and we have to kind of follow those rules, but at the same time, we're much more powerful than those rules, and we want to move ourselves forward into more evolutionary patterning, where we can start to focus on learning how to be intuitive and learning how to, recognize telepathy when it's happening and learning that kind of stuff. So a lot of it is just taking a breath, breathe a lot. If it's really overwhelming, just take a nice deep breath and breathe out, and do that 2 or 3 times and kind of recalibrate yourself. And after a while, it'll get easier and easier, and then pretty soon you'll find out that, yeah, I'm just not as stressed as I used to be. Um, so that would be, and if you're drinking or eating foods that are kind of making you a little more hyper, that's another thing you might want to pay attention to and say, I'm not going to have this roll as much as I like it. I'm not going to have this donut or whatever, because that's going to make me a little bit more hyper. You just can look at stuff like that and little by little. But if you are really seeking that and you ask about it, the answers will come to you. It'll come from the inside, and you can begin to recognize it. It's a very quiet voice, it's a very still voice, but it does lead you in the direction of where you're supposed to be on this planet, and the job that you have to do while you're here and while you're growing and while you're learning. So it does take that part of the action too, because there's really not anything you can take for stress other than hard sleeping pills or something. But it is an inner
Are there
journey.
any natural herbal
There,
things you
yeah,
would
there are.
recommend
There are
for sleep?
some. I'm trying to think of them. Valerian is one. Let's see.
What about chamomile tea?
Chamomile is
Is that a
good.
good remedy?
Tea is the most weakest way to take it in, but there are chamomile tinctures.
And just explain what a
There's
tincture is in case anyone
Oh,
listening
a
isn't
tincture is
familiar.
like a little bottle. Usually it has a little dropper bottle pop, and you'd only need, say, maybe 10 to 20 drops of it. And it's higher concentrated, plus it absorbs into the body really quickly. There's another one called kava. That's a very strong one. So you don't want to overdo on the kava, but that will really relax the muscles down. There's, just if you can go to the herb farm site, they can tell a little bit about the herbs, but the rules are that you can't tell a whole lot about the herbs. So I just, say if you want to email me and ask me questions, I can help you probably with a little bit deeper understanding. So that's at Athena Jezik at hush.com. So you can you can email me there and just put question in the subject line, and I'll get back to you if you have any questions about the herbs or anything like that. So
So Sarah said, thank you. I've been trying to do this teacher assessment, but I keep failing, and it's really made me forget about joy. So thank you for reminding me to look for the joy.
oh, you're welcome. Yeah. Well, you're going to do well because you've already recognized some things. So good work.
All
Really good work.
right. Lauren, thank you so much for keeping the chat pleasant. I appreciate you so, so much. Okay, Cleisthenes. I think that's the correct
Oh,
pronunciation.
okay.
Um, says when I go to bed and lie on my side, I get knee pain. Is there anything I can do about this? I invested in a Tempur-Pedic mattress, which helped to a point, but didn't fully solve it.
Well, when you're on your side, you're putting more pressure on your hip, on the one side of the hip, and then the other leg has to kind of, you know, drop down a little bit, which will take the hips out a little bit more when you're on your side. Sometimes people could just put a pillow, a small pillow, between their knees and keep the legs more in alignment. I'm not sure if that's exactly what your problem is for your pain when it's on the side, but that is oftentimes it's the way that you're positioned in the bed. Um, yeah, I'm having a lot of knee pain when I lay on my side too, so I'm trying to think of what I do. Um, it should be getting better, but sometimes you do want to put that little pillow in there just to keep the alignment and see if that helps a little bit. After a while, then your body will take over and it'll get more used to of that position. Because I don't need to do really a pillow anymore, but I I have to rearrange my legs in a certain way, like stretch one out or
And I'm
stretch.
always switching
Yeah.
one leg out, one leg straight.
Yeah. Yeah, because more than likely, it's a positional thing if you're not experiencing hip pain other places. It just maybe too much weight on the hip and the legs are being on, they're not being in a line with what it needs to do. So it's telling you that, hey, my knees are hurting because my hips are dropping, and the knee is a ball and socket joint. No, excuse me, the knee is a hinge joint. So it just really only bends like a door, whereas the hip can move around in circles and sideways and forwards. So the hip can move in different positions, but you want to get that knee in alignment with where the hip is happy, and then also get the knee in a position where that's happy. So, yeah, I hope that you can try it out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a tough one. My hip always bothers me, so I just have to flip from side to side because my hip will start hurting.
mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I don't know about a remedy.
I know, and everybody's body is a little different, so you never really know. But these are just things that I tell my clients when they complain about things. Sometimes it's a little winding up. If you had a hip injury or a knee injury, it might be something related to prior injury. So that would be something else. But just check it out, just with structure. And the new mattress should help a lot. But I'm thinking more of in terms of the hips and the knees and the alignment of them.
Yeah,
So.
and maybe even just noticing as you're laying there, kind of noticing your hip alignment or your foot. And because if either of those joints are kind of doing something funny, that can put a bunch of pressure on the knee. And that might be why you're feeling it in the knee, but it could actually be coming from the hip being out of place, or maybe the foot just needs a little support. Sometimes I'll use a little pillow or a rolled
Really?
up pair of pants or leggings or something to put under one of my feet.
I know these bodies are pretty cumbersome.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
waiting for the light body.
so absent minded says, when I open my mouth very wide, my jaw pops painfully on the right side. So is that like TMJ or
Well, temporal mandibular, actually it should be TMD, dysfunction, but because that's the temporal mandibular joint what that is. And if it hurts that way, my very first guess is, because I do a lot of mouth work with people and people that do have that type of thing happening to them. And what I always find is that the temporal bones, which are here, are a little bit out of alignment because the sphenoid bone is a little out of alignment. And so when the sphenoid bone is like side bending or torquing a little bit, then that's going to take the temporal bone out a little bit, and then because the joint is right there at the temporal bone, so that will create a problem with the jaw, because it's not going to be opening evenly. It'll be opening a little crooked. Thanks. Okay, the sphenoid bone is okay. So you can see the relationship here. Hopefully, this red bone that's attached to the blue bone. You want me to lift it up a little more?
yeah?
Okay, there's a red bone in there, and that's the sphenoid bone. It comes over to the side. So the sphenoid bone is attached to the temporal bone right here. And of course, it goes back into the mouth as well. And so this is the temporal bone, and as you can probably, hopefully see a little bit, that this is the jaw coming into the temporal bone. The jaw part is just, when you open and close your mouth, it's just in front of the ear. So if this red bone happens to be a little bit either side bent, where it falls a little bit to the side, or it's a little torqued, or it's been pushed on maybe by a dentist working on the back teeth, it'll be sheared, or it could be sheared either way. That's going to take the alignment of the jaw out of joint. And so you'd want to at least look at the positioning of those bones first, or it might be just some inflammation, and hopefully it's not anything where you're getting any deterioration. But if the jaw stays crooked for a very long time, there is a chance that some of that will wear out. The jaw joint will actually, the bones will wear funny, like the front wheels of a car, if it's out of alignment. So you want to do that. I don't, dentists are really quite rough, but they have to be, but they're as gentle as they can be. And it just goes with the work. So I find that a lot of people come to me before a dental appointment, and then after a dental appointment. They do it before to be aligned, and then they come back so that they can be realigned. And there's always a lot of alignment that's happening. But I would say you want to check with that, because that would also affect the vomer, which is, it's this bone right here, and that goes up between the nose. So that can affect, it's also attached to the sphenoid bone. So as the sphenoid bone is not right in there, then that's going to affect some of the nasal bones, and especially, well, right in here. And that's just in the middle of the roof of the mouth. And that could make people have like the sinuses clog up a little bit more and not be able to drain on one side or the other. So it can affect into that too. So I would say, check that out when you work in people's mouths, but you can also just work to get the sphenoid bone balanced, and that would sphenoid bone and then the rest of the bones. That would probably remedy it. I know that a lot of people have just, as soon as they move back in, it stays for a long time. So that's what you could consider, and see if you can find somebody out there to help you.
Like a craniosacral therapist.
Yeah, you could find a cranial therapist. There's a directory at Upledger Institute, and it's a directory, but their website is upledger.com. And then you can just go to find a therapist. And I really highly recommend that you do ask questions. Ask them if they've worked in the mouth. Ask them if they've had jaw people before, because you want to find somebody that's got a little experience to them, because there's a lot of them out there now. But I have a lot of people that they just get out of the classes, and there's so much information that comes to you in the class, but they're not super clear to really getting the student to understand the hand placement for the bones. And I get several people who have gone through the Upledger course, and they just ask me if I would like coach them to make sure that their hands, and almost every time I find that it's like, instead of the sphenoid bone being up here and kind of, sometimes it'll move you down a little bit, they just begin to do this, and they're way down here, so they're on the temporal bone. And it's just because it's on the side, but they haven't been shown the details of it. So be sure that you get, if you can, if it's possible. But anybody that'll help you with the right intention will give you some relief, because the work does work, but it's better to get somebody that is a little more precise on their hand placement. So I hope that will help you.
Yes. Okay, so then Alanik has asked Athena, how do you approach clients that demand painful, deep tissue massage?
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, especially if you're moving from harder massage to easier massage. I dealt with that for a while, and I finally came to the conclusion that I just said that, I'm going deeper than you think. And just because you don't have pain with it doesn't necessarily mean that the work's not going to get done. And you could tell them that actually you found out that less is more. In other words, less pressure is more. And you can also tell them that if they would just relax and be patient and let you do your job, that as the tissues begin to realize that they're not going to be in pain, that they're going to open up, and they're going to let you go deeper into the work. After they're realigned, then you can go through with a harder pressure. But you'll find that if you keep that donkey thing in mind, where you're not over pushing, you're like even pushing, the body's evenly pushing back on you, and your fingers are there, then the body will begin to say, okay, I'm not going to be hurt. So part of that is that their bodies are just saying, oh no, I don't want this deep pressure because it hurts. I might be hurt. I might be injured. So the body pushes back and basically says, I'm going to just tighten up and I'm not going to let you really get in. But then people are forcing themselves in and they think they're getting a lot of really good work done. But if they're, I mean, I've seen people come out of there with bruises the next day, and that certainly isn't something that should be happening, in my opinion, anyway. And I have found that it, they're kind of funny about it because sometimes they feel so much better and they'll say, well, I didn't feel anything, but everything's better. It's all moving better. So, but you kind of have to educate the client that you have because they will, like, they'll kick up a storm because they're so used to being hurt. The whole medical system, everything is pain. It's about pain, you know. How do we remedy pain? Well, then we have to take medicine and da 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 da. And this is just so much lighter, and people don't think that that's worthy of anything. Also, when you go lighter, you can begin to feel how the energy of your own body is being translated into wherever those spots are that are being aggravated. And so you'll find that you're even deepening your own skill level with working with more with the energetic level of your body, of your hands and what's coming out. And always remember to get yourself out of the way and just say, body, what do you need? And that will develop you further because we're not able to really fix anything. And that's when the client is really pushing for having a certain thing done. They don't really know. They just think that that's the way it's supposed to be. Now, possibly in some like sports medicine or something like that, if they feel like that's important, but that might be a different scenario. But if they're just normal people that are, you know, hurting or they have a kink or something and they feel that it has to be pushed out and pushed out. Also, the phenomena is if sometimes people are stuck with a muscle, you know, twisted up, and then somebody will push and push and push on it, and finally it will let go because the chemistry, the whole chemistry of the muscle itself, it just poops out. It doesn't have any more to give, so it just gives out. And so people think, yeah, I worked it out with hard pressure, but really you just took the muscle into muscle failure, and then it comes back. And so it's better to just wait with the body. So you'll just have to tell your clients what the difference is and educate them the best you can because they need to learn a lot. So good luck with that. But it's
And
a,
then
it's
if,
fun. It's fun to do. They do catch on.
can you kind of explain how kind of the whole philosophy of subtle alignment is that with the light work and the relaxed state where your body can relax because it's not protecting itself, it's not recoiling because there's too much pressure. When your body goes in that relaxed state, it starts to heal itself and move into its own ideal alignment. So even though the person is asking for something really intense, they're asking for really deep tissue, if you can help them understand that the work will be more effective with lighter work and deep relaxation, maybe that can help them also let go of that, you know, feeling that it needs to be painful or deep tissue. Um,
Or their control issue.
yeah, maybe a little bit of a
They
control
have
issue.
control issues.
And then
Yeah.
there was kind of a follow up from that. How would you approach a client after they participated in a 15-hour Ironman triathlon? So it's 7 days later, 7 days after doing a 15-hour triathlon. Any tips for reducing soreness more effectively?
Well, I think a good massage would be a good way, and if you have the cranial skills, the cranial sacral would help them really relax. If it were me doing it, I would get them on the table and I would be doing a cranial session, and then I'd probably start and then have them flip over because they're always on their back with cranial work. I'd just let them get into a deep state that way, and then I would do massage therapy, and I would probably, because that's pretty, you know, they're really pushing their body and that kind of thing. So I would probably use a little bit deeper pressure, but I wouldn't do it right away. I would, run over things about 3 or 4 times, and I would get a little deeper each time because the body would already be relaxed. Um, that's like extreme, but you can do it. You can still do it. You don't um, super, super light, uh, and work yourself in deeper and deeper. And you're going to find that it's going to work itself out so much better. So, yeah, I, I'm glad you're working on that person and not me, because I never like to do that stuff, but it's a lot more work. But I think if you kind of stay on the side of the more subtle anatomy, okay, and if you slowly go into it with a massage, even if you don't know cranial work, just start really gently and let them just kind of feel, slowly, so that they can just relax the body and let the muscle tension go, and then just slowly get deeper and deeper. And, it'll feel, if after you do light work, it feels like you're going really deep when you're really not. But, you can just keep going deeper, and the body will tell you, really. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. It's just, they probably will say go deeper, and you want to say no, we're going to go layer by layer.
And in a way, when you're doing the light pressure, doesn't in a way it actually allows you to go deeper?
Yes.
Because the muscles relax and respond and realize, oh, we're not, and we don't need to protect ourselves by tensing. So, in an ironic way, the lighter pressure allows you to go deeper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even if it seems a little counterintuitive, like, oh, why don't you stick your elbow in my back? No, 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 no. Actually, by doing more lighter approach, lighter touch, is going to allow your body to relax so that I can, access the deeper layers. And then that's what she refers to as the subtle anatomy within the joint, within the really small, subtle structures, within the little small joints between the cranial bones that you can't actually, we're not really aware of that anatomy on ourselves. But then when you look at the cranial bones and you get a feel for them, kind of this idea that you're, through the lighter work, able to access more deeply into the body.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that could help them understand,
Yeah.
why the lighter touch is actually more effective than the deeper, more painful or aggressive.
Yeah, and
touch.
somebody, just coming back from this triathlete, is that what they were in? You might want to encourage them to schedule like for an hour and a half, so you can take a little more time with all of that. But once they start relaxing, the rest of the body will start relaxing, and then just go layer by layer, and you'll get down into there. You don't have to go all the way down to the bone, but, you know, it's pretty hard to go all the way to the bone in some areas, but yeah, just give that a try and see if they're up to it. But you might find a little bit of a, a little bit of a fight on your hands, because people are just so conditioned to certain ways. It's got to be done a certain way, but there's a whole another world out there when you take a step back and realize I'm not the fixer of something. I'm just here to give the space and the help to allow the body to know what it has to do, and move into the proper places it needs to be. And that's a whole different realm of I guess you could say medicine. It's really alternative medicine. So and it gets more into the energetic bodies, which we can talk about some other time. But
So this is interesting. Absent-minded. So this was the question about the clicking in the jaw, and you were
Okay.
talking about the temporal bone and the sphenoid bone. So they say, thank you for answering the question. It wasn't a dentist. It was actually a CPAP mask that
Oh,
somehow
my.
did this. So I would say that sounds like you definitely, because the CPAP, for anyone who doesn't know, the mask just kind of, it wraps around your head, it wraps around your jaw. So I could think that that would definitely put things out of place. And so maybe craniosacral therapy might really be something that can help, bring back that balance of whatever happened from wearing that mask. Doesn't that
Yeah.
sound?
Yeah, I probably is that. I was just trying to think if he or she could try something by him by theirself to, if they can get to the sphenoid bone. It's kind of hard because, depends on how big your hands are, but if you could like stretch yourself across your there and just hold that bone and then anchor it. I'll show you on the skull too, and just see if the bone wants to move a little bit, but you have to barely touch it. It's like butterfly wings. So, let's say this is your head, and you're going to stretch your hands across, but it's kind of hard to get to the sphenoid bone. You have to kind of go above the cheek.
Sorry, y'all. Okay, there we go. It's really zoomed in
Yeah.
on the skull. Can you see that?
Yeah. And then you want to anchor the occiput. So you're going to have to just kind of hold the occiput because otherwise it'll do the rhythm there and it'll just follow each other. So you want to anchor that by putting your other hand back there. And you could just kind of, but you have to be really feather touch. You're not trying to squeeze the sphenoid bone, and just, kind of just see if you can feel it moving around. And you can kind of do this to yourself, but the problem I have is it's so relaxing. My hands fall off my head and I'm sleeping. And just see if that kind of wiggles it. And then you might be able to put the fingers in the ear and twist one way and then twist it another way. And just kind of see if you could get the temporal bone to move a little bit.
Can you show your ear, kind of how you're placing your finger in the
It's
ear?
just right in my ear.
If you turn your
It's not
face
like down the
sides,
hole.
you
It's
can
just
see.
on the edge, and it's actually on the temporal bone, and then you just move it forward and backward, opposite each other, and that might put the temporal bone in place, and then spread it out. And there's some other things to do with the temporal bone to get it in alignment, but the sphenoid bone is the main part of the whole cranial thing. So I think it's important to get the cranial, try where you're putting it across, but really and truly just barely touch, like you can almost feel air go between your fingers, and just see if that's, and don't, if you start to feel a little movement, don't push it around, just follow it, just follow it. And that might, I don't know if it'll help or not, but it's worth a try to see if you can get that jaw back in place, because it does sound like it's a misalignment issue. So I don't know. You can give it a try. Like I say, it's easier for me to just have somebody get somebody's head in my hand and figure it out. But I'm just doing the best I can to give you little tips to help some of this out.
Great. So many people saying thank you for the advice. Love your videos. Thank you all so much.
Yeah,
Do you want to
thank
do
you.
another little singing bowl section?
I could.
While we wait for some more questions
Also,
to come in?
we got to make sure that this wire, well, there was something I was going to mention too. There was a new video posted today, which is talking a little bit more about what cranial sacral work is about, if you're interested in that kind of stuff. It's a very beautiful video. It's
And then there is actually another question.
Oh, okay.
Are you a night owl or a morning person? How is
Oh.
your relationship with sleep? My mind is overactive and I'm struggling with going to sleep on time.
Well, I like getting up earlier in the morning, but I have found that if I eat heavy at night, then it's like the digestion, especially if it's heavy food, then I'm finding that the digestion, it takes about 6 hours. So even if I eat at 5, then I'm not going to bed till 10, and then I lay in bed for a little while because I'm still digesting, and then I wake up later in the morning, and I don't really like that. I like
Mic test. Ask if they can hear you.
Can you hear us now?
Um,
I'm sorry about that.
okay, she says it's working now.
Okay, where did I leave off?
So go ahead and answer that question again. You were talking about sleep and
Okay, yeah.
trying to not eat something too heavy before bed.
Yeah, I found that, yeah, eating something heavy before bed keeps me up longer. And then I don't wake up in as happy a mood either. I realized I really don't. And I hurt more. So I think that the digestion, for me anyway, needs to happen earlier in the day. And if I want to eat something heavier, I really don't eat that much, really. But eat something earlier in the day and then maybe just have like a banana or something before I go to bed, or pear or something like that. Um, I prefer going to bed early, and I prefer getting up earlier in the morning because that's more in tune with, the earth and the sun and the moon, and especially the sun. We're supposed to go to bed when the sun goes down and wake up when the sun comes up. That's a better rhythm with the planet and all of that. But this day and age is pretty hard to do that because we have so much distraction everywhere. So, yeah, that's what I would say there. But I prefer getting up early, but I really realize there's things I have to pay attention to make that possible. And I have a lot of lucid dreams. I don't know if you heard that either. I do have a lot of lucid dreams. And I have more dreams when I go to bed early. So,
Interesting.
yeah, and it also says that your brain, I've read, I don't know if this is absolutely true, but the brain needs to rest, and it sleeps, or it rests before midnight. So like between 10 and 12 is when the brain is just really able to really rest. So if we're up using our brains between that time, then we kind of miss calming them down. That may be another reason why we stay stressed so much, because we never get to really relax our brain unless we're going to bed earlier. So that's another reason I like to get to bed earlier, but I don't always do it. Sometimes when I eat late and it's heavy, I'm up till 1 or 2 o'clock, and I just don't function the next day. I'm like sleeping all day almost.
Alrighty, so we're gonna do some more singing bowls here as we wait for some more questions to come in. I'm gonna mute it for a second while I adjust the mic. So give me 1 minute here, Athena. Okay, there we go.
Okay, I'm going to start out with a 528 hertz. That is a very nice tone. It's considered the miracle tone. And I just learned today that everything around us deals with only 9 tones. And it's based on the 369. This is some of Tesla's work. I don't understand it very much, but this one I do know is very good for it's without this tone we wouldn't have the kind of world we have as far as beauty and nature. So I'm going to start with that and see if it brings you into a different state of feeling. Let me know if it's too loud. these two?
Just all of the big bowls sound better than
Okay.
these, because these are too high
Oh, okay.
for, I think, this particular microphone.
Okay. There we go. Guess we can kind of close it down.
No, you got some more questions now.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry for the big lack of time. We definitely not super duper professional with all this, but we're having fun.
Great, Athena, don't tell 'em.
Yeah, we're doing the best we can. I hope you like that.
Will you go through telling them what notes each of the bowls are? Someone was asking.
Yeah, this is a G. This one is a D. Yeah, you don't need. And then this one is an A. That's a D. And this is its counterpart. This is a higher D. It's a higher octave. And then this one that it's a B. And then that one is an A. And I have a bowl, a big, huge bowl over there. That's a B flat. So I gave a couple of my bowls away because they were E flat and C sharp, and they just didn't fit into the bowls at all. So I decided to gift somebody with that I knew would appreciate it. So I try to, kind of play them in harmony, but sometimes because they augment, if there's a certain energy in the room that that needs a certain frequency to fill in the room or on the person, particularly when I'm working, it will augment. And sometimes when I'm playing the bowls that should resonate well with each other, they sound really out of tune because there's some note that's going in there, maybe a sharp or a flat that isn't really, it just doesn't sound good with the other bowls. But I just let it be, and then after a while, the augmentation of the other bowls will come back, and then it sounds good. And these forks here that I guess don't work too well with the mic, but this fork is the 528, and it's solfeggio. And this big long one, this one is like for the bones and for more the physical. It's real long. It's 174 hertz. And then this little one, which I didn't play at all, but this is the highest one, and it's a 963. And that one is one that is, it's like otherworldly. It's like getting in alignment with the higher parts of us. And I rarely play that one. I'm usually playing these two when I'm working, but I do have a set of 9, and they have a interesting sequence to the numbering. It's very interesting. I don't really know that much about them, but I'm just having a good time using them on the clients and seeing what that's doing, and they all really like it. They like it very much, and so I just keep doing it as long as they like it, and they come out of the room. It kind of takes them into a deep relaxation after the end of the cranial session or the work that I've done. So don't ask me too many questions about the tones, because I'm not a sound therapist at all. The sound therapy people are amazing. So there's that.
Okay, so Mel B, thanks for your question.
Yes.
Any tips for someone who will be working night shift at a new job? I'm a night owl, so staying up won't be a problem, but curious if you have any other general body care tips beyond finding good sleep.
Night shifts are hard on a lot of people, and some people can handle them really well. It sounds like you'll probably handle it pretty good. About the only thing I would maybe have you consider would be when you get off of work to kind of schedule yourself like you would during the day. So maybe do a little stuff then and then get back to sleep for the afternoon and early evening parts. But that may not work for you. You may want to sleep when you get home. But just kind of see what fits better so that you can keep your energy all night and that you don't start burning out, because you're going to be opposite of the rhythm with the planet. Or with the sun. But I really do believe that people can adjust to that as well, and just kind of, flip the energy in themselves and all that. But I would say be sure that you do get some good sleep, and be sure that you're sleeping in a really dark room so that your body thinks that it's, nighttime, because you'll be under lights probably at the job. So you would want to sleep in a very dark room so that the melatonin and all of that stuff can be, stimulated and go to work in that regard. So really and truly, the dark room, I think, is the most important, because sleeping with any kind of light on, it does interfere with our sleep, even if it's just a night light. We're supposed to sleep in the dark,
Yeah.
the dark.
Everyone loved the bowls. Lots of great comments about the bowls. And then Sherry B, a very interesting question, my dear. Can you recommend one or two of the most important behaviors or choices to live a long and happy life? I am 60 and in good health generally, but would like to do more.
Well, you're going to have to keep in a happy mood, even when things look bad. Kind of be grateful for everything out there. Not ever go into negative patterns, because it's so easy to do. People can just say something to me, particularly about my health, and I'm just in a tizzy because it's always so negative, and then I doubt myself. So don't doubt yourself, and pull yourself into a nice space where you really love yourself, and it's all right to do that, and that measure your words carefully so that you don't create negative vibrations through the tones of the vibration of the words, and just stay on that positive side. But most of all, no matter what happens, just remain grateful and find joy in the little things like a flower or like the wind or the rain or, I don't know about a tornado, but even if that happens, just be grateful that you're alive through it and ask, your inner self what that was all about, what you have to learn about it, letting go of things, not being really super attached to things. We can have things, but not being super attached to things, and having a heart that likes to, you know, serve others in some way, not just, hoarding things that we have because we feel like there's going to be scarcity or something, but to, reach out, especially if we have the time. And if you see something like a little animal in the highway that's just, scared and alone, to maybe stop and take care of it or take it to a vet or something. Just the kindness, because that's another thing that we're lacking so much in today's world. So we don't want to see suffering, and so it's up to the people that are moving themselves into the higher frequencies of kindness and joy and happiness and doing for others and offering things even though they may say no, just being there and really loving yourself. And I think you can, go through life, you know, very well that way. I know that's a lot of what I'm learning myself because I've got to be happy when I wake up and I'm taking the first step and it hurts. I can't get into the negativity of that. I have to be grateful that I've stood up, be grateful that I'm taking one step, even though I need help. So just don't look at the negatives in the world and turn it and flip it into the glass is half full instead of half empty. And it's a job to do. It takes a little while, but it does have it just has a different feeling about it. And oftentimes you'll find that your life will be a lot more in synchronicity. Is that the right word? You'll find that just things just happen, or like serendipity. Things just like I'd like to go out and buy a yellow T-shirt, and you walk in the store and there's a yellow T-shirt right there, or you wait a few days and somebody brings you a yellow T-shirt. The life starts changing where you're getting to a point where you're be able to actually kind of manifest things out there. And that's where we got to go. We really need to go. And all of us, if everybody in the world did that, then we would actually have more of a heaven on earth because we wouldn't be grouchy at each other. So that's what I say for that. And I hope that helps you and makes sense, because sometimes new things to think about are kind of crazy. Also, be very open-minded to things that you're not used to hearing, and just be open-minded. Use your discernment to figure out if it's right or wrong. Just don't, everything that you hear, use discernment. If it feels like it's resonating with you, then go with it. If you're learning something new about religion or politics or anything, just be with it for a while and let that discernment set in, and listen carefully to what's being said. So that's another thing we all need to practice on, is listening
Yeah. So
and
yes,
not
she
reacting.
says, she
Not
says,
reacting.
thank you so much. I'm taking notes. And then all that you were saying about positivity reminded me that last time you kind of shared some like positive affirmations
Did
for when
I?
you're
Oh.
feeling sick or you're feeling rough, or maybe in light of like what you were saying,
Mm-hmm.
getting kind of this negativity
Yeah.
about your health, and what kind of positive affirmations that you can use even when you're maybe not feeling your best or you're feeling very stressed
Yeah.
out.
It's just mainly just turning it around into some kind of, I'm not in this position. It's moving away, because some of the things that I've had medical people tell me, um, if I allowed myself to fall into that low vibration of negativity, then there's a good chance that I wouldn't be in the position I'm in now. I'd probably be much closer to leaving the earth. So I'm having to just, thankfully be happy that, I'm making the progress and I'm going to make it, and I'm looking ahead, like, yes, this is today and it's a rough day, but you know what? It's a perfect day because I get to rest, or I get to, you know, go to the grocery store. Well, that'll be a few months away, but just keep telling yourself the good stuff, even though it looks out there in the matrix, in the construct that we're living in, that it looks like it's not so cool. And it does change things, even in the not so cool times. It does change things because it changes the attitude, changes the frequency, that changes the vibration, and all that is really beneficial, and it's what we need to do.
Great. Hello to Jack. Alanik says, loving all of the life insights. So grateful to be here and now with you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thanks for reminding me. That's exactly right. Being in the now.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for reminding me of that. Yeah, just being in the now, what's happening now, and don't live in the future and don't live in the past. I mean, you can plan for the future, but you know, don't worry if it's not going to come out the way you exactly want it to. It's better just say, this is what I'd like, and let somebody else of a higher realm take it over. And pretty soon, do what you have to do to get there, but stay in the now doing what you're doing. And yeah, I'm glad he said that.
Yeah. And then Ross has asked, how can I strengthen my core? Please. I'm an older person who dislikes exercise.
Well, for me, one of the best core builders is where you're just lying down, like I'll lie down on this table, and I put my hands behind my head and I like hold my head so I'm not pulling myself up with my chest or my neck or anything. And then have my knees bent. Just, you're flat and then the knees are bent. And I just bring myself up just a little bit and then lay it back down. And just a little bit. You don't have to go all the way to sit up, because as soon as you go past kind of the rib cage, the mid back, what happens is then your hip flexors are going to take over, and they're going to be the work for pulling you up. So you want to work just the core. So just bend yourself, like curl up, and then flatten. So this is how it would look, kind of. I mean, it wouldn't look like this sitting down, but just working this abdominal part, just rolling up and rolling down. And then you can also, with your knees up, just let your knees go from side to side, just kind of so you get a little bit of flexibility in your low back. And that, if you do that often, you could almost even do that in bed when you get up in the morning. That will help to strengthen the core. That's an easy way to do it, and it is directly working with the muscles that you need to work with. You can get fancier if you want, like bending a knee up and straightening it down and up and down, but then you're working more hip flexors, which is okay too, because you want strong hip flexors. But that would be, what I would say to just try, because I know it's hard to exercise, but we do have to keep our bodies strong. So just little easy things, you'd be amazed. And also when you're bending over and picking something up, notice how well you can lift yourself back up with your core, the back mainly, but you'll feel a difference in the core where you're not weakening. So give those a try and see how it works. See if you can tolerate that part. So,
I would also just say noticing your posture when you're sitting up, because we all do this.
yeah.
So just the simple act of sitting up straight, it works. It's maybe not working as many of your front muscles as your back muscles, but strengthening the postural muscles of your back in a weird way is also strengthening your core, right? Like arguably
Yeah,
the core muscles are on your front and back body. And so if you can just notice your posture,
that too, yeah.
is such a big one. And then that's something you're doing all the time. You don't have to lay down, you don't have to do a sit up, but just noticing your posture and starting to try to sit up more straight. And if it feels uncomfortable, that's your sign to spend a little bit more time sitting that way so you can try to strengthen those muscles a bit.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
just as something that doesn't involve laying down and doing an exercise, even just while you're living your life, walking around, sitting at your desk, sitting in your car.
Yeah, it's like getting more body awareness, and but that's not easy to correct because it's like a habit and it's a muscle memory pattern too. So um, it takes some discipline.
Jack says, not Corrina making me realize I was so slouched over and the way I just corrected myself. So that's it. It's like, and just getting in the habit of noticing when you're slouching, that in and of itself is a huge.
That's good. Yeah.
It's a practice, right? That's kind of part of our yoga practice, you could say. Just noticing when you're slouching. And if you start getting in the habit of noticing, bringing your attention to it, you'll start noticing that you're not slouching as much eventually.
Good one,
that's
Corrina. Yeah.
and that comes from someone who still constantly catches myself slouching
I do too.
all the
Yeah.
time. So,
Especially when I'm at the computer.
so it's about 7. Did you want to maybe close with some bowls?
Yeah.
Oh, somebody had just asked a question. Athena, do you take supplements?
I do. I'm pretty careful with the supplements I take, and I don't always take them every day. What works best for my body is I take herbs because I'm getting the herb that is good for a certain organ or a certain thing, the bones. But I do have to take a few supplements for the healing of the bones because the bones have been traumatized so much when they hammered in the rods. And there's 2 bones, and then there's the one screw that's holding through a rod because my hip joint wouldn't hold the leg in place. So for a while, it felt like my hip was always like my leg was falling off. So I do take some, D3 and K2 and boron, which are good for strengthening bones. And let's see, I can't remember what else. There's a few others. Zinc is another one, but I don't take those every day. I take them when I feel like my body needs it, because I'm very sensitive to that kind of thing. But I do herbs that are helping with, like comfrey is good for the bones, helps them heal. Dandelion I do because I do the natural pain med, which I don't want to overwork my liver, so I do that. And I'm taking a couple other herbs that help with inflammation and all of that. And I try to space that out. And I'm also finding that when I first got out of the hospital, I was craving just something fierce, just to eat a lot of meat, a lot of animal protein. And now I'm finding that that's not as desirable, that I'm wanting more of a variety of things. And so it dawned on me the other day that it's because I had so much that I was eating to get, started with the healing of the legs and the muscles particularly, because they were just like toothpicks. And it's like now I'm focusing more on organs and different things like that, which is good. I'm still focusing on legs. But it was what dawned on me the other day was that I think I need to do some kind of a cleanse for my body, particularly in my abdomen area, the guts and all that, because I sit so much. And I'm trying to figure out exactly how to do that because fasting isn't going to be good for me. But I think something with more liquidy diet type thing, maybe homemade eggnog where there's eggs in there and no sugar, and then get some nice squeezed green juice drinks and stuff like that. I think that's going to help my overall health, and I think it'll also help my bones heal faster because I feel like I'm not absorbing the nutrients like I should. Because I feel like even though I'm fine going, evacuating from my intestines, it still feels like there's more that needs some help. So, that's another thing that you can think about too, all of you out there, that gut health is extremely important because that's where you absorb so much.
So like probiotics or something, or what do you recommend?
Well, probiotics is good. I mean, yeah, and there's prebiotics and all that. I think, well, the lady that interrupted us with the calls, she told me that because I told her I just couldn't eat the breakfast that she was bringing anymore. And so she said she's going to make homemade um, eggnog, and which is going to have, eggs in it. Eggs are real good for you. And then I've got juices that I'm going to be ordering from Stokes Juice. It's here in Austin. I think they have it in other places, but it's really, really good juice. And I'm going to get more of the green juices because that, will take my body a little more alkaline as well. So it's kind of comes in phases, it kind of changes as time goes on. So I don't know if that helped or answered the question very much, but um, it yeah, it's an overall body thing. We've got to start paying closer attention to what the body's asking for. I mean, not just me, but I'm learning that pretty well. I thought I knew it all, but I'm definitely learning a lot more now. So.
Mm-hmm. We'll probably be wrapping up here in a minute. If there's any more questions, do feel free to drop them below. And then Jack Wood says, Athena, I've just heard you've not been feeling well. I'm so sorry to hear that. I truly hope you recover well. Take it easy.
Thank you.
And then
Thank you.
JJMN, did you have a question about magnesium, or are you just kind of mentioning that is something that might be helpful as well?
Yeah, I am taking magnesium. Yeah. And yeah, magnesium is really good. But it's one thing that I did learn is you don't want to take magnesium and calcium together. Even though they work together, you don't want to take them together because it does something to the absorption. They kind of work in a way where neither one of them it doesn't absorb as well. So
Do you recommend like the topical magnesium stuff,
well,
or do you
that's,
take it internally?
I take it internally, and I do have some that I do externally, but I haven't found that the external doesn't seem to do much difference. The internal is better. But yeah, thank you for reminding me about magnesium. That is a good one. Yeah. And unfortunately, our food, for the most part, is so lack in vitamins. We should be able to just go out to a tree and pick something and eat it, and we'll get a bunch of stuff. But all the stuff that they've put on it, it just makes it really, really difficult. So we do probably all of us need to supplement to a certain point. And if we eat a lot of things that are more sugary, like fruit, or carbohydrates. Not that all of that is bad, but I'm just learning about that. If we're doing more of that, then we want to make sure we take vitamin C with that. I can't remember exactly the reason the vitamin C does something to the sugar, like cancels some of it out. I'm not really sure because I'm kind of learning a lot of this as I have to take so many supplements.
Wow, yeah. So Sarah says, my mom is in Europe and she said the food has so much more nutrients there
Yep.
than it does here.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, not only the fresh food grown, the fruits and the vegetables, but any of the processed foods, we're now very aware, most of us anyway, the ingredients are completely different. The ingredients for Cheerios are different here and different there, right? The ingredients of all those processed foods are different in the States. So there's it's kind of factorial, so to speak. The processed foods are different, but then also even the fresh foods are different because I think the growing practices tend to be different. The respect for the earth is very different in different places. I've heard people say that when they were traveling to other countries, the fruits and the vegetables tasted different than they taste here. And I was like, what? But then you start thinking about it and you realize oh, well, if you had a more nutrient dense soil with maybe less pollution, less chemicals, less pesticides, even your fruits and vegetables grown in the dirt would taste different than the ones we have here. So that's very interesting, Sarah.
Yeah, and we don't even want to know what's in our food in some cases. But yeah, that's a whole nother topic. But you do want to start to pay attention to what you're consuming. especially if you have issues of health, because some of that may be a little bit too toxic for somebody's system to handle.
And we both agree on the no one should eat Cheerios comment also. But just to point out too that the ingredients in the Cheerios in the States are worse than the ingredients of, cereals and processed foods in other countries.
Yeah, and I guess in Russia they won't even buy most of our food because they're they're more concerned with the health of their country folk, even though it's kind of an issue that everybody thinks they're bad. But when you really stand in this position of being neutral, you can look at both sides more objectively. So we want to, we don't want to react. We want to just sit with it for a while and figure it out because, yeah, it's we've been pretty much chemicalized here. But that's changing. There's a lot of really good farms that are into different types of growing. They're using the copper, and the food does come out way different. They're getting good dirt, good soil, and there's a lot more of these farms that are popping up everywhere. And that's one of the reasons that I recommend Herb Farm, because they've maintained that throughout the years to stay really, wild crafted or real organic food. So that will, just other things to think about. You may agree with me, you may not agree. It doesn't really matter. It's just information, and we have our own perspectives, and that's all good. So that's what makes us, work together, because we don't want to be mono heads and everybody just think the same way. We want to have that creativity within us and different viewpoints and coming together and with good conversation, and then we can create a much better world, a much better world. And I'm looking forward to that.
All right. So thank you so much, everyone, for your comments. I don't see any other questions here
Okay.
necessarily. So we'll close out here with a little more of the singing bowls, but want to thank you guys all so much for being here. If you
Yes.
haven't yet, please, if you hold the screen down, you'll see a little option to thumbs up the video. You can also click on the little three dots up in the corner, or you can just hold down the screen and you'll see that thumbs up appear. But we appreciate all of y'all for liking the video and all of y'all's amazing comments.
Yes, I do want to thank you all, because we're kind of carrying on a different conversation than the norm, and it's fun for me to be able to finally share so many things that I've been ridiculed about practically my whole life. So I really do appreciate it, and I'm so happy to hear that there's massage therapists that are beginning to explore the more subtle techniques. It really does make me happy, because it just does. It's good to see. It's good to see the changes. The road that I was on when I was in the 90s, particularly, I had chiropractors and doctors just chasing me all over and threatening me because they didn't like the cranial sacral work and the herbs. They didn't like any of it. But people are much more receptive to that now, and I feel that this group is really, you guys have your thinking caps on and you're open, and that's wonderful. I really, really, really appreciate that.
Awesome. All right. Let me get this mic moved over again. It really does sound nice.
Just flip. Is it on? Have a wonderful, joyful evening and weekend. See you next week.
Everyone says thank you. This was so informative from start to finish. All right, bye everyone.